Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and here we are for the last video in our Dark Elf faction focus, and we're now going to be looking at the legendary heroes. As a reminder about the series, this is being done for Warhammer The Old World. Essentially, we are looking at the 8th edition army book for the Dark Elves, and we're looking at the rules, and we're looking at how they play, and we're trying to remember how they were in the meta to try and give us a bit of an indication of how they might play in Warhammer The Old World. We know rules are coming for the Dark Elves in legendary format, and we know the developers are looking at old editions to see what the rules might be for Warhammer The Old World. So, as we've said in previous videos, we're doing this so that we can see how a character plays or how a unit plays, and while the rules themselves and the details might be different, the focus of that unit, whether it's damage, whether it's scouting, you know, is expected to be quite similar because that's the fluff of the unit. So without further ado, let's move on to the legendary heroes. So first up is Shadowblade, and you can see his model there, which is now used as a generic assassin, but that is the Shadowblade model, known as the Death that Walks Unseen. He's relatively young for an elf, at less than 2 centuries old. We should all be so lucky. But already he's totally legendary and the most successful Dark Elf assassin. His most famous event is where he killed the entire crew of a High Elf hawk ship over several days, and then he left only the mutilated captain alive to tell the story. Charming fellow. No one, not even Hellebrand herself, has ever seen his face, and his master was killed by Shadowblade years ago, so not even he is alive. Unlike other assassins, whose loyalties are around money, Shadowblade only answers to Hellebrand, so which means he's typically used for like the political assassinations and so on. However, despite the rivalry with Morathi, she has not been touched so far. But so far it remains to be seen. Is it because Morathi is actually beyond even Shadowblade's abilities? Maybe the order hasn't been given yet, or maybe he has loyalties that are hidden even from Hellebrand herself. We don't know. But how does this elite assassin play? So Shadowblade, as you'd expect, very high weapon skill and ballistic skill, initiative and leadership, low strength, toughness and wounds, typical of Dark Elves. What does he come with? He comes with 2 hand weapons and a throwing weapon. He has 2 magic items. One is the Heart of Woe, which explodes using the small round template. Every model touch takes a strength 3 hit. Not going to do too much against most people at strength 3. He does get the Potion of Diabolic Strength. It's a 1-use potion, but it does give him +4 strength to a maximum of 10 until the end of the turn. So incredibly useful if going after somebody with high toughness or a lot of armor. You know, at that sort of strength, you're going to be giving lots of minus AP to armor saves. You know, you're probably going to be attacking characters, so you're pushing them on to ward saves and so on. He does have access to all the assassin venoms, which is -1 leadership to characters for each unsaved wound for the rest of the game. That can be quite interesting, particularly units that are relying on character leadership. He has Killing Blow, which is good against characters, and he has +1 to wound, which helps him with his low strength in wounding those tougher characters. He does always strike first, hatred and murderous prowess. He's a killer, not a leader, so he can't be the general and nobody can use his leadership. He's hidden like other assassins. He's immune to psychology, and he does have poisoned attacks. He does have Dance of Doom, so he's a 5+ ward save. That's it. So in terms of save, he does not. It's 5+ ward save only. He does, however, have Master of Disguise. Now, this is what makes him quite valuable, in that he can change which unit he is hidden in at the start of any movement or close combat phase. So that is really useful. So you can actually, you know, he starts in one unit, but actually he's in a different unit and you get that flexibility. Whereas in a normal assassin stuck in the unit, you put him at the start of the game, so that assassin's less able to react to how the game changes. However, he's nearly triple the points cost of a normal assassin. So Shadowblade was rarely taken, despite having a great model. Most people normally took a normal assassin with a magic item. You know, you could take 2 assassins with magic items for the same cost as a Shadowblade. The limitation of only 4 1-wound attacks meant that you were mainly relying on killing blow to kill enemy characters. So you're trying to fish for that 6 to get that killing blow. But you've only got 4 1-wound attacks. Now you're probably going to hit. He's got high weapon skill. He's re-rolling his wound rolls as well, which kind of helps, of 1. But you know, to get that 6 was quite tough. So, you know, especially given his cost. So given he's expensive, you know, it's difficult to make his points back. You know, most expensive characters have a good ward save as well. So, you know, killing blow, you can still use the ward save. You know, the strength isn't going to matter at that point because they're going to ignore the AP. So it was rare that he made back his points. So just wasn't really seen that much. You're better off with a regular assassin and a magic item if you want that type of character, which is unfortunate. But moving on, next up is a gorgeous looking model, which is Lokir Felheart, the Kraken Lord of Karankar, essentially the city where all the Black Arks and slave ships and pirates hang out. So he commands the Black Ark known as the Tower of Blessed Dread, first commanded by his great-great-grandfather. His father was killed by an assassin, which unusually wasn't ordered by Lokir. The Felheart family is known to hold to that whole tradition of family, and they don't plot against each other, and they actually, you know, blood is thicker than water, which is unusual in Dark Elf society. Lokir did manage to sack the High Elf port of Tor Canabray in a single night, which is a significant achievement, and he has already earned more glory than all of his forebears combined. The amount of wealth and slaves flowing into Karankar from Lokir Felheart has earned him the grudging respect of even the city's masters, which is no mean feat. Lokir is also much admired by his own corsairs, not just for his generosity, but also because he is masterful and skilled in combat. Does that translate to the table? We shall see. So Lokir Felheart, above average weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative and leadership, low strength, toughness and wounds. Equipment, he has a heavy armor and a sea dragon cloak, which gives him a good save. For armor, he does have the red blades, which is a pair of magic weapons which re-roll all failed wound rolls. Which is interesting because he's already re-rolling wound rolls of 1 in close combat, so I guess it's really only going to help if he's attacking something with high strength. Helm of the Kraken, magic armor +1 to his armor save. He gains regeneration, which is nice. And basically the way regeneration works is after you fail a save, you could normally choose to take your ward save if you have one, or your regeneration. But you can take regeneration, roll a 4+, and the wound's ignored unless it's a flaming attack. You can't use regeneration against flaming attacks. He also causes terror, which also causes fear as well. He's immune to psychology. So Helm of the Kraken, a pretty nice item. Does always strike first, has hatred and murderous prowess. He gets daring leap, so unless he's in a challenge, he can fight any character that's in the same combat. So even if he was in combat with, his unit was in combat and got charged from the rear or something like that, he can basically pick any character that's in a combat that he's in, even if he's not in base contact, and he can fight them. He gets Merciless Slaver, which is all enemy units that take a panic test as a result of another unit breaking from Lokir's combat, get -1 leadership when taking the panic test. And Show No Weakness, which is the same as the Black Ark Fleetmaster, which is kill an enemy character, he and the unit become unbreakable. Like, he's a very cool and thematic character, there's no doubt. It's unfortunate he doesn't give any buffs to the Black Ark Corsairs. And it'll be really interesting in the old world if we're going to start seeing, I mean, not necessarily with Loki, because we don't know if he's even going to be in as a legendary hero, but the Blackheart Fleet Master, for example, and you could potentially use him and Loki as a counts as, for example. Are they going to start giving buffs to the units, that they're kind of for, or they're just going to be more individual? One of the things that we've seen throughout looking at this 8th edition army book is that very few things give buffs to the unit from the characters. There's very little linking Blackheart Fleet Master or Loki to his role as a leader of Corsairs, right? So he doesn't do any of that. He's only 10 points cheaper than Shadowblade. And unfortunately, as with many special characters, a generic Dreadlord with magic items is often less points for a similar impact on the game, if not a greater impact on the game, and with more flexibility. There's no mount for him, so you're going to put him in a unit. He's not bad and he's reasonably durable, but he just lacks the flexibility, and he's not buffing any unit that he's with. So I think there are better choices out there. And let's see what else might be out there. So next up for our Dark Elf legendary hero is Khorran Darkhand, Captain of the Black Guard of Naggaroth. So he's the longest serving member of Malekith's Black Guard. They're essentially Malekith's personal bodyguard, and he's fought at the Witch King's side for nearly 1,000 years. He had a rapid rise in prominence. He became a Tower Master within his first decade, and he was captain of the entire Black Guard within 500 years. Seems like a long time, but not in elf times. So Khorran is an unusual Dark Elf because he's actually got an honest soul, and he's utterly loyal to the Witch King. So there's no betrayals there, so that makes him unusual. But as a result, he's often underestimated. Khorran's wits are known to be very sharp, but his battle skills even more so. And you kind of have to be. If you're captain of the personal bodyguard of the Witch King, you're probably going to be an excellent fighter. But he was trained also by the finest weapon masters in Naggaroth. You'll notice there's no picture because he never had a formal miniature release. How does he play? Well, as you'd expect, high weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative, leadership, low in the usual elf area. Equipment-wise, he has the Crimson Death. This is a magic weapon, halberd, and gives him +2 strength, which is nice. That does help him out with his low strength. He also has the Armour of Grief. This is a magic armour, 5+ save. And each time an enemy model successfully hits Khorran in close combat, they immediately suffer a strength 5 hit. That's pretty nice, particularly if he's getting attacked, by lots of attacks, and they're successful. So that's only if they get a successful hit. They don't even have to wound him. A successful hit, and they immediately get a strength 5 hit in return. Gets his always strike first, which is great. He gets eternal hatred, so he's re-rolling all misses and all rounds of combat, and murderous prowess. He's immune to psychology and stubborn. He also gets, and this is key, the right hand of darkness. He and all models in his unit have unbreakable, which makes them immune to psychology and automatically pass break tests. If you put Khorran Darkhand in a Blackguard unit, they get stubborn, so they're steadfast, but they also become unbreakable. So that makes them almost impossible to remove from the board through making them break or run, flee, or anything. You're going to have to wipe them out to the man. So Khorran Darkhand, he's expensive for a hero, no doubt. But I do feel that he does give a bit of bite to a Blackguard unit. They do lack a little bit of bite, and his +2 strength, magic weapon, and his abilities give a bit of bite to that Blackguard unit, and they get unbreakable. And you think the cost of a master, and you can see the magic items. He's got the magic items aren't bad. and the additional special rule, you can see where that cost kind of becomes a bit more justified compared to the two we've seen, which are way more expensive than Koran is. So Koran is somebody that if you're going to take a big block of Blackguard, I would definitely be thinking about taking Koran in it. And again, it remains to be seen, like others, will Koran even appear in the rules? And if he does, will he have that flavour of being, good in combat, but really buffing as he should the captain of the Blackguard? We'll see. So now we're coming on to the final legendary hero, which is also the final unit in the Dark Elf army roster, taking us to the end of our series. And the final person is Talaris Dreadbringer, chosen of Cain and captain of the Harganeth Executioners, and one of the most murderous war leaders in the whole world. He killed his first captive at the Temple of Cain as a child. He basically stole a guard's weapon and killed the captive. He was one of the first of the newly formed executioners. So when the Harganeth Executioners came in, he was one of the first. And when Hellebrand was on her way on a journey to Nagarond, Hellebrand chose him personally to lead that bodyguard. Talaris has remained loyal to Hellebrand. His first devotion, however, is always to Cain, and he is the chosen of Cain. He's willing to slay fellow executioners without flinching, and he's known for his anger, even so much as witch elves, as crazy as they are still wary of Talaris's anger. But how does that make him on the battlefield? Let's find out. So he's got above average weapon skill, ballistic skill, as you'd expect. Equipment, he has heavy armor, the same as as a unit of executioners, and he has the first Drake, which is the two-handed greatsword. He gets +2 strength, as you'd expect. He does always strike last with it, but he triggers killing blow on wound rolls of 5 or 6, not just 6. So, what do we have for him in terms of special rules? Well, all the ones you see on a unit of executioners, killing blow, fear, murderous prowess, and so on, always strikes first is an interesting one. So my understanding, and I'm not 100% remember on this one, but I believe his always strike first cancels out the always strike last on his weapon, meaning he would then attack normally in initiative order. He also does have Cain's Sacred Slaughterer. Now this is what makes Talaris absolutely key, and almost an auto include if you're leaning heavily into executioners, because he gives his unit frenzy. So he's got great leadership, so the chances of the negative effects of frenzy happening is low, but he's now giving every executioner an additional attack to himself, and the number of attacks is key. So he's the cheapest legendary hero, and his buff to Harganeth Executioners doubles their attacks, because with killing blow, you're fishing for 6s for that automatic kill with no armor save, right? So you've got 10 executioners, let's say, and suppose just whatever they can all fight. That's now they're getting, instead of 10 attacks, they're getting 20 attacks. Which means they've got more chance of those hits going through. More hits means more rolls to wound. More rolls to wound means more chance of getting 6s. Absolutely key. He's got initiative of 7, so even if he's fighting on his initiative, then he's still often going to be fighting before others, and he's going to get that additional attack from frenzy, and he's got that increased chance of killing blow, because he now gets killing blow on 5s or 6s. So for me, he's an absolute solid choice. If you're leaning into a sizable unit of executioners, Talaris Dreadbringer would make a huge impact on that. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our Dark Elf faction focus, which is where we're looking at 8th edition rules in the army book to see how units might play and what flavour they have when they get turned into rules for Warhammer The Old World. As I say, we've included the legendary lords and heroes for the sake of completeness, with a legendary set of rules which aren't going to be updated. I think there's absolute possibility that these characters could make their way into the rules. You know, if we look at legendary rules in other games, they've included pretty much everything. There's no reason for them not to include these guys in the rules if it's just a set of rules which aren't going to be updated once. The Dark Elves, you know, they're not getting any new models. So, you know, why not just include the rules for all the units that were there in the 8th edition? I don't know. But we put them in for completeness, and hopefully it gives you a flavour of, you know, how each of them might play. And a little bit of fluff for those legendary guys as well. And I say, I think there's definitely going to be some influences here. And like I say, a scout, you know, Dark Riders are still going to be that fast cavalry, right? Cold War Knights are still going to be that heavy cavalry, despite the details of the rules themselves. I hope it's been interesting. I hope it's been useful, particularly for those people that haven't played Warhammer Fantasy Battle in the past, or for those that haven't played it for a very long time, to refresh your brains. It certainly refreshed mine when I went back through the army book. And there's certainly an intention to go through a whole bunch of other factions, though at the moment that's going to be confined to the ones I have the army books for. We have a few, but we certainly don't have all, and that's because a lot of my source material where I would have found army books online before have seemingly of late disappeared, whether that is voluntarily or due to Games Workshop taking them down, which is a shame because these rule books are for a game that doesn't exist anymore, and books that aren't published anymore is a real shame. But for now, unless we can find another a source for the army books we're missing, we're stuck with what we have. So we've got a few. So you can certainly expect to see Tomb Kings, High Elves, Vampire Counts, and a few others, for example. But we don't have every single one, I'm afraid. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, then give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And if you want to see more content, please hit that subscribe button. It's free for you to do, and it means a lot for me. So thank you for that in advance. And if you want to know what content is coming up, please also check out the channel status video that was posted up only yesterday to give you an idea of what content is coming for the future and what the channel is actually all about. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you very soon.